Hailing back from the days of Medarot DS back in 2010, it is KWG10 Sanjuuro with the kit of Commander, Charge Blade, Thunder, Biped Legs, and the leg ability of Dead or Alive, which buffs all leg stats minus armor and heavy limit for every critical hit scored. Now, compared to most other KWG types, Sanjuuro really doesn't deviate too far from the norm with 2 melee skills and a support skill, but Sanjuuro, despite this, actually does have a lot of unique buffs that make his own kit very unique even across other fellow family members of the stag beetle family. Commander is a relatively rare support skill, but essentially what it does is that it grants the radar sight buff across the board to all allies, which is 30% buff to success, and removes stealth and conceal effects of the enemy's side, but it also grants an effect of stealth to self, which means once it is triggered, Sanjuuro cannot be touched or targeted by the enemy unless he's already being, or unless such is already being done until he finishes his next turn. In addition to this, Commander's stealth effect also allows Sanjuuro to bypass shields for the one turn that he is invisible, pretty much just bypassing or skipping past shields since they can't see him coming. Right arm of Charge Blade we've seen a pretty fair amount of times by now, but it is a conventional melee skill that draws bonus damage based on the charge gauge of your Metaforce fill rate. In addition, it will also eat a small amount of charge, about 5% when fully capped at 5-star, 10% if not, to officially kick in that bonus damage. And then, of course, Thunder is your conventional ailment that stops enemies in their tracks with a paralyzed ailment, as well as making it easy to land hits on them in this state. Now, honestly, across the board, Sanjuuro is a very dodgy and a very swift KWG, which means he doesn't deviate from the norm too heavily, but this is something he can still use to his advantage as a very sneaky and a very swift back-end attacker for those who don't expect to see him coming. Between using Thunder to make sure that he can stall his enemies, using Charge Blade when he can build up a few turns to get Metaforce charge, and just absolutely rip and tear with that Samurai Blade of his once it is officially live. And then, of course, with the Dead or Alive ability, which means his already swift legs can go even faster and have an even higher chance of dodging for every critical hit he scores. So ideally, the best way to use Sanjuuro to really kick him into full effect is a serving of Commander, maybe use Thunder to stop somebody, and then absolutely lay on the Charge Blade to really lay on the pain on not just one enemy but any who stand in his way. Naturally, of course, with him having Charge Blade, pairing him off with a Hunter or Sniper Nature Medal for that passive Metaforce sustain will be in your best interest if he is someone that you do choose to use or go after. For these reasons, as a pure set score, I do have to rate Sanjuuro very highly at an 8 out of 10. Very well balanced across the board between an ailment skill, a Metaforce reliant nuke skill, and and definitely an upper tier support skill compared to most others. Sanjuuro's only real weakness primarily is the fact that even though he does have a lot of very high damage potential with Charge Blade, he does not have Metaforce sustain that he can use to help maintain that damage or even build to it. So naturally, if you are going to use Sanjuuro, not just a Hunter or Sniper Nature Medal would be in your best interest, but maybe even spending a turn to charge Metaforce and buy yourself an extra turn might also be in your best interest, so you can start that bonus damage early and just build up to it from there. For these same reasons, I do have to rate Sanjuuro as mixed parts at an equal 8 out of 10. Given that you can use any of his parts anywhere, none of them are heavy, and it means it has ultimate flexibility anywhere in any team build that needs a conventional melee nuker, an ailment fighter, or even just your all-around melee fighter in general with support-based skills.